Welcome to Impact Wrestling. Now, before I get started, I want to make this very clear. I got something to say at the end of this review. Don't worry, it's nothing bad. Everything is fine, but there's something I want to say about Impact and what we've been having, and particularly what's been going on in wrestling in general. So I have a thought, and I don't know if you guys are going to understand it. You may just think, well, you've already said this, but I think I need to repeat it because of how things have been going with Impact Wrestling and AEW. Now, Rich opens the show, and he pretty much says, simply put, I'm proud to be champ. I work my ass off to be champ, and I'm not afraid to deal with anybody. I don't care if you're from this promotion or anywhere. I don't care. I'm going to face you. I'm proud to be an Impact champion. He calls out Tommy. He started talking to Tommy about what he meant to the business and what he meant to him, and I thought, is Tommy getting a title shot? Literally, that was the very first thought that went in my head. And when he said, and I believe he said Tommy's birthday is February 13th. He said, when No Surrender comes around, I want to give you a shot. I believe it's February 13th. I could be wrong about the time. But he said February 13th, No Surrender. He's giving him a shot at the title. Then we got Sammy coming out. Chris Bay, who said his own birthday's on that same day, and how come is he getting a shot when maybe I should have a shot because it's my birthday too? Sammy saying, how could you say this guy deserves a shot? I am the draw. I may not won my match at the barbed wire, bloodbath and mayhem and everything else, but I deserve a shot. Then Moose comes out. And he pretty much says, I know you're a man of your word. So there's no problem with this between me and you. But anybody else, you guys know you don't stand a chance against me. I'm first. Pretty much that's what he was saying. And when it came to Rich, he pretty much said, look, I faced you. Chris Bay beat him. I faced you. I basically beat you. And that is Sammy. I haven't faced you, Moose, but Tommy, that match is set. So once that was said, pretty much, a fight breaks out. And then you got Ken Shamrock coming out and whooping the ass of all the faces. And then you have Rich pissed off as hell going to Scott saying, we want them. And I'm thinking, oh no, not another tag, not a 6-man tag, not 8-man tag. That's what I was thinking when I realized they wanted a 6-man tag, and then Scott says, well, if you're going to do something like this and you know you're outnumbered, you should get somebody, and I got you somebody. I'm actually talking right now, and they look in the office, and there's someone there, and I'm thinking, oh no, an 8-man tag. It's going to be an 8-man tag. And that's what I thought going through most of the show. Now, we had Raju, and I'm not going in order. He now knows that this is a non-title match, but he believes once he wins it, he is going to, flat out, going to get his shot again. Now, here's the thing. The person that was in front of him, because he said, I need you by my side. I need you. I gotta admit, I didn't know who it was, and I'm still not sure who it is. But because of the way that person looked and the way the clothes, well, at least what that person was wearing, my thought is Muhammad Ali Shira. Now, I could be wrong. It may not be Shira. But the way the clothing on that person on his side looked, it looks like Muhammad Ali Shira. I don't think it's Raj Singh. But something's telling Muhammad Ali Shira it could be. That's what's going through my head. And I could be wrong, though. It could be someone entirely different. I hope it is. Because I'm not saying Muhammad Ali Shira is bad. He's not. But he's been there so many times. They really need to do something new. I wouldn't mind seeing Muhammad Ali Shira go to AEW. And spotlight himself there. Because he's been to Impact multiple times. And he really didn't get very far most of the time. He's had his run multiple times in Impact. I hope he goes over to AEW, work in dark, and maybe start building himself up there because he is a big guy. He can move to a certain extent. That's just me. You guys tell me below. We got Private Party and Matt Hardy. The Private Party. I don't know if everyone else likes Matt Hardy's gimmick of being Money Matt. I'm really enjoying it. I really like seeing Matt Hardy change himself around. He's basic Matt Hardy. He's Brother Nero's Matt Hardy. And basically the broken, brilliant Matt Hardy. We've seen the crazed Matt Hardy, the wonderful, which is broken Matt Hardy, but just amped up. And now we get to see Money Matt. I really am enjoying seeing his work. He flowed so well as a shady businessman that you want to kick the ass of. I'm loving it. For me personally, seeing Matt Hardy be like a mouth of the South Jimmy Hart, or like someone you could think of that is a manager that's always trying to get the edge on somebody while they're managing them, but make sure they get over, and then they get more over than them, but still they're not the one that's generally getting hurt in the ring. That's what I'm loving. And he's already planning on them going in a tournament in AEW, and he wants them to win the Impact Wrestling titles. And that's supposed to be at No Surrender, I believe that is. And I believe that's on February 13th, I believe. I've said it before, I'm hoping that's the right time. You guys can tell me below, but that's how I feel. Now, let's move on to Dashwood versus Rosemary. There was no Taya because she's gone. And I gotta say this briefly. Please, by the great spirit of the earth, I follow Native American culture. By the great spirit of the earth, please do not go to WWE. Taya, I know the money's good. If anyone knows Taya and watches this, I'll say, Taya, hello there. You're gorgeous. If you weren't already married, I would love you forever. Even if I'm like here and you're here, because you're going to be bigger than me. Please don't go. Please. I know your husband's there and I know you love your man. But if you go there, you're going to be miserable. So please don't. But we get this match. And it was okay for what it was, but what does it actually give us? This is what's getting me. We got Decay in a Rosemary and Crazy Steve. We don't have a third person, which they do need. I still do believe that Manic or Suicide would be the best third person for it. I don't believe Madman Fulton should be the third member. I know you could say, well, he's crazy, he's out of control, he would fit. You got Violence by Design, okay? You do not need two factions with two big guys. You already got that in the AEW. You don't want to duplicate on Impact. As much as it seems like the best thing to do, no. Leave the two big monsters on AEW. Look what's going on with Lance Archer, and look what's going on when it comes to the Inner Circle. You got two guys in the same faction, both big guys, and then you got another big guy. No. Keep the factions down. It works better. The match wasn't bad, and Rosemary won, destroying, well, not destroying, but beating a Tenille Dashwood. But I still don't know where they're going with this. Are they going to do a mixed tag tournament? Or are they going to do something special with two? What are they doing? Are you going to make a mixed tag title? Are you going to give Rosemary and Crazy Steve something to do? Or are you just letting them float? Putting Tenille Dashwood and Caleb with a K up against them because they got nothing to do. That's the question. I'm hoping it's not a bad one when it comes to the answer. Now, the Hood Rats, which is Fire and Flavor, have their Hood Rat, well, let me put it to you like this. If you don't know what a hood rat is, let me school you. A hood rat is someone that comes from the hood, comes from the project, that is trifling, that causes nothing but havoc, and wants to look good while doing it. And when you look at both of these women, who I'm not against, and understand this, you guys know me. I love Kara Hogan. That woman is gorgeous. And I'm not taking anything away from Tasha. She's a good looking woman. Came from my hood. Came from New York. But Kira is gorgeous. I love that woman. But this is what I gotta say. They're in my face. I did not know how flat-chested Kira was. That she wears a very interesting push-up bra to hide the fact that she flat, baby. Damn! I love me Kira Hogan. She is great on the mic now. She's gotten very good at the mic. She's gotten very good in the ring. She may not be the most greatest wrestling ring, but she's way better. She can tell a story. She can actually, in a certain extent, be a ring general. Not great. She's still very young in the business, but she's getting there if she focuses. She has at least 4 out of the 5 tools. Physique, that goes for men and women. She's mostly there. But I ain't gonna lie, the girl's flat. But I still love that woman. I will love her even if she's flat. I will look at them and say, I don't care if they're tiny. I'll love them anyway, which is the truth. But we got the Hood Rats Fire and Flavor Festival. I know fest, but I'm saying festival because they tried to make this special, tried to make it a fest. But they, 1, were not willing to really make it mean something. 2, they were trying to cheap out on the food, cheap out on the liquor, cheap out on, well, everything else, do it in the ring, and basically charging through the nose, which pissed off one of the refs. I keep forgetting that ref's name. But pretty much, he got pissed that once this entire thing came out, he's standing there, bored out of his mind, and says, this basically sucks ass. You got the Alicia trying to make it mean something for her girls. You got the Johnny Bravo there in his loud shirt. And it doesn't seem like he's interacting with Rosemary at all anymore. So that's good. And then you got Johnny Swinger with the swingettes. And that is the most interesting thing of the entire thing. You got the swingettes there trying to serve food because he did hire them. Trying to serve liquor. And pretty much the food was garbage, particularly that once Johnny Swinger said, you didn't unwrap. No, it wasn't Johnny Swinger, it was Johnny Bravo. Johnny Swinger said, you know you didn't unwrap the cheese. And then when Alicia tried to drink the liquor, she spits it out and it's disgusting. And they're just pissed off at everybody that don't really understand the majesty of the Fire and Flavor Fest or the Hood Rat Festival of Champions. And the thing that got me, I don't know who came up with the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man gimmick of having a Nevaeh outside in that suit. You got Tasha Steelz coming up to her and pretty much saying, who do you think you are? Father Bob, because he wanted to be there, but he couldn't because he had no money. They go wipe the floor with them and they just make it all about them. Who the hell they think they are trying to mess with the Hood Rats? But it just screams a rematch eventually. But here's the thing. Yes, it screams a rematch. But aren't they supposed to go through other women first? This is where I'm getting a little worried. Yes, these women are now the tag champions. They are the Knockouts tag champions. Please, I beg someone in Impact Wrestling, do not make it about Nevaeh and do not make it about Havoc going against the Hood Rats only. If they don't bring in other women from the outside, if they haven't recorded it soon, they better. Because if it's only going to be these 4 women with a title that needs like 6 teams, this is going to be bullshit. I'm saying it right now. And I don't care if they put it on Explosion. It's got to be on Impact. They got to show these women that are going to be in basically this Knockouts tag division. This is just me, guys, something below. Larry D gets his moment to shine because he's out of jail. He's still angry, very angry at Rosemary, and he cold cocks Crazy Steve. Once Rosemary says, oh, did you like our love juice? And he was so mad, he knocks out Crazy Steve. So he backs off from Rosemary. He's scared to want her to get involved with her. But that means Crazy Steve and Larry are going to have a match. And that doesn't fill me with much confidence either when it comes to Decay, because yes, it kind of makes sense since Rosemary screwed up pretty much Larry with the go-go juice. You want to settle it. But please give me something with the K afterward. If they're still floating around with Tennille Dashwood and Caleb, it's not good. Next, we had Sabin and we got the James Storm moment where they pretty much are still working together. So that means James Storm is there for a little bit. Don't know if he's signed, but it's good to see that James Storm is still working for Impact and he is interacting with, well, since Alex Shelley is not there because of whatever situation it was, he's not injured, and from what they said, he doesn't have COVID. It was just some reason he could not be there. You're now having Chris Sabin with the James Storm. And they pretty much are drinking and saying, look, there's no beer money. There's no Motor City Machine Guns, but we are something. We're tag champions. We're going to get those titles. We'll give ourselves a name when we win. And they basically chug down some liquor. It's okay. I want to see these two do something. They need something with the tag divisions. That's just me. You guys tell me below. Now, Joe Dorling versus Jake. Total destruction. That was a bloodbath. Nothing happened other than destruction for cousin Jake. And then the offer to join Violence by Design. I'm curious to see where they're going to go with this. I'm very curious. Will cousin Jake join Diener, or will he just get destroyed again? I don't know. You guys tell me below. Now, we had Ace and Madman Fulton versus Cardona and the Josh Alexander. This was the spotlight, pretty much Matt Cardona. This was to spotlight him, to get him over. And it was, he did win. He won over Madman Fulton. I'm just wondering where they're going to go with this with him. Now, of course, that interaction he had with Brian Myers just before his match makes you wonder, is the feud going to be between them first? Because it does kind of make sense. They are actual best friends in real life. They have a podcast. And seeing that Brian Myers is a heel, Cardona is a face, it would make sense to actually put them against one another eventually. Just not too soon. Now you got Eddie versus Brian Myers. In a match that was, I don't know what to call this match. Because you see Eddie turn hardcore and basically bite the head of a Brian Myers. He DQs the match at first, and then he bites his head and makes him bleed because he was hurt already. And the match wasn't bad, but now you got that. So what does that exactly mean? Why would Eddie throw the match by DQ and become... You see him in my face with blood in his hand, and his nose, his mouth. What does this mean? I don't understand. Does this mean he's going to be turning hardcore again? But he's already hardcore. What does this really give? I don't really know. You guys tell me below. Finally, he's back. You got Moose. You got Bay. You got Sammy and Ken versus Rich, Willie. But he's in my face. Seeing Trey Miguel back sporting blonde, I'm surprised. I'm really surprised. They opened with Tommy. And what was it, Tommy? I think they opened up with Tommy at first, which was good. But then when you see Trey Miguel get in the ring, he is a lot more aggressive. Flat out more aggressive than I've seen him in a bit. So it is a good thing to see him a bit different. He changed his hairstyle. His clothing is a bit different. He's wearing something similar to he's wearing something very similar to Eddie Edwards. Wearing shorts. So in this situation, the match wasn't bad. But I hate when they go beyond a regular tag and they go to 6 to 8 man tag. I'm just not fond of them, particularly that they do too much. But you got Trey Miguel getting the pin over Sammy Callahan. Let that sink in for a minute. Trey Miguel being gone for about maybe a couple of months now. Easily. Comes back, and his first day back, he pins Sammy Callahan, a former world champion, a former tag champion. I believe a tag champion. I don't remember if he got the X Division. He probably did, but I don't remember for some reason. But he now pins him. So are they going to do something with Trey? It's a good question. Now, this is where things have to be talked. I'm going to make this as brief as possible because I actually went further than I wanted to. I know everyone is excited seeing Impact with AEW. I know everyone is happy to see that you can see the content is changing on Impact Wrestling. And I'm sure some people are not happy that AEW is putting more on Impact because it is an older company. They are on another network. They're going to get people watching from their own people on Impact where it could translate over to their network. Because that's what a lot of people, I'm sure, are thinking. And I said this already. Impact needs this. They need an infusion of new blood. And they get an opportunity, even if it is with a few people on AEW, to be mentioned on AEW on TNT and to be seen to a certain extent some of their own content because they have shown some scenes of Impact Wrestling on AEW because they give them permission. So I'm still hoping that more Impact wrestlers will show up on AEW and more AEW wrestlers will show up on Impact, and maybe they'll switch because there's so many people in AEW. Maybe it's a possibility that they'll switch going from one brand to another. Maybe like Matt Cardona is now possibly working for Impact Wrestling. It's a possibility. I don't know. But here's the thing. Be wary. Because this is not about how AEW is getting a bigger advantage than Impact Wrestling. Both of them are getting something out of this. But this still falls down to one thing, as I've always said to you guys. Be cautious. Because this still comes down to the creative team on Impact, where in many cases in the last couple of years, they have made the most stupidest, boneheaded moves. They get opportunities, and either they don't capitalize on them, or because of maybe a year or two back where they did not do something right with a talent, like signing them or re-signing them, or at least making enough storylines for them to have something to do, they lose the wrestlers, or they lose them because they don't book them. They lose them because they don't write. They not just don't write for them. They basically don't pay them enough, or they won't sign them. It's always been something with them. Period. So I really am being very optimistic. I still believe 2021 that AEW will help Impact Wrestling and give them new life if they book it and understand what they got their hands on. But this still is going to depend on Impact Wrestling capitalizing on whatever limited amount they get. But it's just me. Have a good day. Have a good night. No, almost forgot. Tony Khan cannot act. He sucks. He's in my face. Peace.